Hey everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel. So I'm going to continue reading They Shook Hands by Death Roll on fanfiction. So I'm on chapter 6 right now. On chapter 6 of They Shook Hands Year 1. Chapter 6, The Head of Slytherin House. Harry and his friends were awake bright and early, the first in the house to rise. They showered quickly before hurrying up to breakfast, eager to get the day started. Breakfast this morning was waffles, and Harry devoured a stack in short order. Today, the first years we once again got invited by the prefects, and as they still didn't know the way to some of their classes. The first lesson was astronomy, which promised to be interesting, but then it was defense against dark arts that everyone was really excited about. Jessica led them on an amazingly complex route up to the astronomy tower. The way involved ducking through 2 secret passages, doubling back once, and going out onto a walkway along the parapet before coming into the tower proper. Harry did his best to take notes of landmarks. A professor with shoulder-length black hair was waiting for them. She was sitting at her desk and drinking coffee from her mug, which read Star Teacher and a silly-looking cartoon Star Person on it. She waved the first years in as they climbed the staircase that opened up into the room. According to the clock, there were several minutes before the lecture began, and the professor showed no signs of starting early. Once they were all in the room, she let her head down on her arms and closed her eyes. The Slytherins deposited their books at the desks and explored the room. The room took up the whole floor. The wall was rounded, one continuous curve, and covered with huge star charts. There were no windows, so the room felt very dark. Mr. Sling could be cunningly disguised as the sun. Inspirational posters were scattered in the blank spaces on the wall. Reach for the stars, read one. The sky's the limit, read another. Shoot for the moon, said a third, with a smaller print underneath the reading. If you miss, you land among the stars. Harry groaned because the puns were just so pathetic. Daphne was giggling. The bell rang, and the professor raised her head and yawned. My name is Professor Sinistra, and I will now bid you good morning, as I am a night owl. I have no idea why they asked me to teach this ungodly hour. The lesson was interesting. Professor Sinistra gave an overview of the course before she began lecturing about the major star constellations. They will be learning the names of the different stars and the movements of the planets. They will be required to study the text night skies through telescopes every Thursday night. Professor Sinistra did not stand still during her lecture. She wandered all over the room, drinking from her coffee mug, in which she refilled from her thermos every time she passed her desk. She made great use of the star charts on the walls, pointing with the wood meter stick. When the lesson was over, Abraham led them back into the castle via a shorter route to defense against the dark arts classroom. He asked them about the lesson as they walked. Harry was walking right next to him and happened to glance up. "Is that lipstick?" he asked, interrupting Pansy, who was raving about the lecture. Abraham blushed. "Maybe, but it's not mine, Harry, so it's all right." The girls giggled. The boys looked excited and all seated. "Here we are," he said, stopping at a door. "Have fun." "I'm so excited," Theo said. "I'm hoping a course starts us in on spells right away." "I'd like to try the leg locker curse," Harry said agreeably. "Griffey rang before I give it a go." "Rather we do something more challenging with the full body bind," Draco replied. "Is that the one you failed miserably at casting last night?" Theo interjected. "Shut up, Theo. It's way too advanced for a beginner. Look, you're not the only one who learned things as a child." Theo stuck his nose in the text, ignoring them all. Pansy for once didn't have a smart-mouthed comment. She, Tracy, and Daphne still too busy giggling at the lipstick Abraham had smudged on his face to pay the boys any mind. Millicent turned to Harry and rolled her eyes. Those two are so girlish. They're forever on about robes and fashion and makeup. I couldn't care less. Give me an old set of uncomfortable robes and I'm happy. Good afternoon, Slytherin first year's best squirrel stammered, opening the door for them. They took their seats. The girls were actually starting the good stuff, as Theo put it. Professor Quirrell's class turned to be a bad joke. His classroom still smelled strongly of garlic. They heard later on that the garlic was to ward off a Romanian vampire the professor would have persuaded to track him down. His turban, he told them, had been given to him by an African prince as a thank you for getting rid of a troublesome zombie, but they weren't sure they believed him. Millicent asked her the story, but stammered at something about it not being very interesting and began babbling about the atrocities dark wizards had caused over the ages. His turban house had a funny smell about it, as Daphne insisted it was too stuffed with garlic, leaving them all in stitches as soon as they got out of the earshot of the classroom. After lunch, they had another Traumas class, and Professor Flitwick awarded 5 points to Slytherin, and Harry was able to clearly demonstrate how to hold his wand for casting their charms. That was their last class of the day. So they relaxed before dinner and stayed studying for that evening. Harry joined the game of Exploding Snap, managing not to burn himself at all. Duke out of the game early to read some more from the potions text, and Harry was considering doing the same when Jessica and Abraham came by to ask him about their second day. Harry was definitely appreciative they were so diligent for their duties. He liked the Slytherin house looked after their own. Dinner was uneventful, but a surprise awaited them back in the common room. Professor Snape was seated in a chair by the fire, talking with Peter von Erickson and Molly Yarker, the 7th-year prefects. They ceased their conversation immediately when the first years came down the stairs. "Excellent, they're all here," Peter said, counting noses. "First years. In case you didn't know, this is Professor Snape. He is head of Slytherin House and Potions Master. Molly's introduction fairly rang with regard to them for the man. Thank you, Miss Archer, said Professor Snape, his voice quiet. He rose to his feet. First years, I welcome you to Slytherin House. Hope now you've settled in and made yourselves comfortable. I hope you're learning to trust in your prefects. They're here to help you, as am I. If you have a problem you feel is too serious, too big for the prefects to handle, I hope you'll come to me with it. My door is always open to you, and I will always help you. Professor Snape's voice was not passionate, but his tone was very serious. No one could doubt that he meant what he was saying. I know you've been informed of the unofficial rules of the Slytherin House. I trust you will follow them. We encourage you to think here and to make informed decisions. Please ensure that you have a good reason for doing things that you do. Those who act without thinking will suffer the full brunt of my sarcastic wrath. Those who embarrass the Slytherin House will suffer a fate worse than death. Those who embarrass me personally will be tied to a chair and forced to watch Muggle religious television. Harry actually seen Muggle religious television, tried to suppress the signal of amusement. What a horrible threat. Snape's eyes flashed to Harry's face. They seemed to directly burn into his soul. Something funny, Mr. Potter? There was absolutely no love in that tone of voice. No, sir, Harry said quickly. Just as I've seen Muggle religious programs on the telly before. That's an awful thing to threaten someone with, sir. Snape's eyes seemed to burn into his skull. That's all I have for now. I encourage you all to be a credit to Slytherin House. See you all bright and early tomorrow morning. Good night. Good night, sir, they chorused. The same rose and left the room. He certainly seemed to Well, that was interesting, Harry said once the first fierces all settled down near the fireplace. You certainly seem to dislike you, Harry, Tracy said, her voice puzzled. There was an uncomfortable silence. When do we have flying class? Millicent asked, changing the subject. I want to get on a broom again. They haven't said yet, Theo replied. His conversation turned to flying, brooms, and Quidditch. Harry listened for a time but pulled his potion test when panting. Theo got to a row about a matchless season in which the Hollywood head harpies lost to the pride of Portree. He couldn't focus on the book, however. His mind kept drifting back to the wonderful changes that had come into his life. It was overwhelming that one actually thought about it, but Harry wouldn't trade a blink of it away. By Hove, the castle was immense. Between the constantly changing staircases, people, the porches wandering around in the coats of armor that seemed to walk around of their own, Harry had the spirit of ever fully learning his way around. As getting lost in their own wasn't a big enough problem, there was also Peeves the poltergeist. Abraham and Jessica had warned them all that Peeves was absolutely not to be trusted. Did you hear about Terry? Theo had said. He asked Peeves directions yesterday afternoon and ran into 2 locked doors in the trick staircase. He was late to transfiguration and got a first-class dressing gown down from old McGonagall. He filled the second-year Hufflepuffs with water balloons this morning, Lily said. I saw one with the prefects casting a drying charm on them. Peeves was a general menace, but he was thankfully very afraid of the Bloody Baron, Slytherin's resident ghost, and intended to leave the Slytherins alone. Harry wished the Baron could steer the caretaker Argus Filch as easily. It was widely rumored at the school that the old man was a squib, something Draco and Theo should have been talking about. His Grisly was catching students out of bounds and threatening to hang them by their thumbs in the dungeons. Despite being a magical squib, Filch was familiar, a scrawny, dust-colored cat called Miss Norris. She even looked like him with bulging lamp-like eyes. She patrolled the corridors alone. Break a rule in front of her, but just put one toe out of line, and she'd whisk off for Filch, who would appear wheezing 2 seconds later. Did you hear about Weasley and Longbottom, Pansy said? Filch Club trying to force door on the 3rd floor corridor. The one that's out of bounds, Harry asked? Yes, they claimed they were lost. What was their punishment? Detention. Filch wanted to hang them up by their thumbs. Draco laughed. 2 minutes Dumbledore continued the old ways. The hour grew late, and Harry eventually got the same studying done. All the firsts knew that in the morning they would have double potions together with the Gryffindor house. The rivalry between the houses was such that Draco Tracy had mandated being extremely well prepared for lecture. Jessica and Abraham had warned them that Professor Snape loved to ask questions and you didn't want to get a question wrong in front of the enemy. Harry did extremely well to date, so as far as he could see. With help and encouragement of his friends, he'd already cast a number of spells. Several of those spells had come from chapters in the books that they wouldn't get to in class for weeks. Then, he took to magic like a fish to water was a bit alarming, but Hagrid had said that his mom and dad had been very magical. They'd been head boy and girl after all, and that meant great talent. Magic was in his blood. The hour grew later still. Draco was yawning, winding up with Tracy, who was sitting next to him. Draco shut his book with a thud and got to his feet. That's enough wind to bed. If you ask me what Black is good for, I'll just make something up. He's literally poison, Harry said, trying to restrain a yawn himself. That is because too many pests tried to become doctors and killed a bunch of folk a long time ago. His voice was smug. He knew more about herbs and their properties than any of them. I don't care, Draco said, walking towards the room. I'll tell him to ask Theo or Harry. He yawned again loudly. They all looked at each other, each trying to hold it back. The Millicent could express no longer and yawned, stretching to the ceiling. Nothing else to do but for the rest of them to rake as well. Yawning is contagious after all. Bed, Harry agreed, gathering his things. Worn up by a second day filled with magic, Harry was asleep for his head to hit the pillow. Friday morning came soon enough, and everyone hurried to their morning shower. They rushed upstairs to the great hall as quickly as polite manners would allow. They did not speak, not wanting to take valuable time away from chewing. They seemed to be ready, waiting for the Gryffindors. They almost like the 2 houses antagonized each other all through the week, finally putting them together on Friday morning, ruining the weekend forever. came off worse in the confrontation. Harry was just spooning the last of his porridge to his mouth when a bit of folded parchment dropped into his bowl. He looked up to see one of the school owls swinging away. He swallowed his mouthful in a folded note and said in a very untidy scrawl, "Dear Harry, don't you get off Friday afternoons, Alf? So to come and have a cup of tea with me around 3? I want to hear all about your first week." Send us to answer back with a school owl. Hagrid. Concerning getting to potions on time, Harry stuffed the note in his school bag. Across the table, Theo was frantically flipping the pages of magical draughts of potions, looking for something. Everyone else was wiping their mouths or picking up school bags. "Time to shine," Trace said, smiling cheerfully as they made their way back into the dungeons. "We should be able to have breakfast in the common room on Fridays," Draco groused. It was cold in the potions classroom than up in the castle proper. It was cold in the Slytherin common room, for the fires never stopped burning. Fortunately, as they walked to the dungeons with the other students, they acclimated to it more readily than the shivering Gryffindors. The laboratory was quite interesting, creeped with pickled animals floating in glass jars all around the walls. Instead of desks, there were solid stone workbenches lined in an orderly manner that places for 2 students. Tracy neatly elbowed Draco out of the way and just started to sit down next to Harry. He smiled sweetly up at him, and Draco stomped back to wonder to sit behind Harry, glaring at Tracy in a highly indignant manner. Pansy sat next to him, and Theo sat with Blaze. The Wilson team with Daphne leaving Crabbe and Goyle apart. The rest of the team had not yet arrived, so Harry investigated the workspace while they waited. Cupboards and shelves were built into the bottom of each bench. A pair of drawers contained tools such as thermometers, glass stirring rods, and hot pads. An iron rod was cemented the stone, and several adjustable clamps were connected to it. Black scorch marks marked to the bench top. In addition to their own basic supplies of potion ingredients, there was a rack of ingredients for students to use at the back of the room. Each student would record what he was talking, how much he was taking, and what portion he was making. It was regulated to encourage students to purchase their own ingredients. The door slammed, everybody jumped into their seats. Special Snape strode purposely down the aisle to his desk in the front of the room. "There will be no foolish wand-waving or funny words spoken in this class," he declared, his voice powerful. He reached the front and turned to face him as his robe was whipping around him. "They'll hardly believe that it is magic. Potion making is also a subtle science as that art," he continued, his voice dropping low, but they caught every word. Like McGonagall, Professor Snape had the gift of keeping a class silent without effort. "I don't expect you to really understand the beauty of the softly simmering cauldron with its shimmering fumes, the delicate hour of liquids that creep through human veins, bewitching the mind and slaring the senses." Harry slowly folded his arms across his chest. "I can teach you how to bottle flame, brew glory, and even put a stopper to death. That is if you weren't as big a bunch of darn heads as they usually have to teach." It all sounded tremendously interesting to Harry. Potion seemed to be quite exciting. Harry found himself looking forward to the first lesson. He glanced sideways at Tracy and was paying rapt attention. All the Slytherins looked eager. The Gryffindors seemed nervous. "Well, well," Professor said softly. "Harry Potter, our new celebrity." Harry gulped. His suspicion that Snape didn't like him appeared to be correct. His palms began to sweat as Snape stared at him. Ron and Weasley lingered behind his hand. Snape paid him no attention, and maybe he hadn't noticed. His eyes began boring straight into Harry's skull. "Tell me, Mr. Potter, what would I get if I added powdered root vessel to a fusion of wormwood?" He studied that, and he didn't remember reading such a motion in the test, but he knew both those herbs from reading as for herbology. They were both powerful sleep agents. "A good long nap, sir?" he said respectfully. Snape's eyes stopped their intense glare. His face became unreadable. "Quite right, Mr. Potter. In a roundabout way, I suppose. Together form a sleeping potion so powerful that it is known as the draught of living death." Harry drew a slow breath and let it out. He'd gotten it right. His relief was almost palpable. Snape's eyes became hard again. "What is the difference, Mr. Potter, between Monkshood and Wolfsbane? Now that was being unfair. 2 questions?" Weasley was shaking with laughter at Harry being singled out. Harry struggled to recall. Suddenly felt very warm and had to fight down to stab a panic. He knew his names. Draco said something about them right at the end of night. No, that they were the same thing, sir, also known as Alkanite. Once again, Snape's face was unreadable. Very good, Mr. Potter. 10 points to Slytherin." Harry took a long breath and wiped clammy hands down on his robes. He got it right again. Being put on the spot teacher had always been stressful in Muggle school, and Hogwarts is no different. He always had to study very hard to catch up with his friends. Mr. Potter knows what we all should know. Anyone who did not know the answers had better write it down for Snape. His last words coming clipped and obnoxious. There was sudden rummaging of cools of parchment. Harry set up his inkwell and began to prepare to take notes. He already knew he would have to be diligent in this class. Professor Snape's unexpected challenge proved the necessity beyond a shadow of doubt. The man had high standards. Harry was eager to prove he could measure up. Now let us continue. Weasley. Where may one discover Bezoar? The red-haired boy had been laughing while Harry was on the spot. Harry didn't feel like pushing his luck to return the favor. "I don't know, sir. Thought you won't open a book for attending classes. Is that it, Weasley?" "No, sir. You're able to afford the required text?" Draco snickered. Harry wished he was near enough to shush him. "Yes, sir," Weasley said through grinding teeth, "and what prevented you from reading it?" "I was reading for charms. And what did you learn?" Weasley didn't ask, but his flesh was creeping up his neck. I see. Professor Flitwick would be very disappointed. 5 points for Gryffindor for not being prepared for class. Draco snickered again. Finnegan, what's the proper volume to fill a 2-size cauldron? I don't know, sir. 2 volume? Snape stared at the Irish boy for a long moment. The muscle in his cheek twitched. 1 point for Gryffindor for cheek, Finnegan. Anyone? Yes, Mr. Knott. 2/3, sir. Correct. 5 points Slytherin, 5 from Gryffindor. Goyle. How many porcupine quills are needed for the potion to cure boils? Okay, so this is part 1 of the 6th chapter of They Shook Hands, Year 1. And I'll update you with part 2. Take care, everybody.